All right, I am here tonight with my friend, debut novelist Don Mewha, and we're going to talk about his brand new book, Bishop's Crossing, expected out early 2021.
Yeah, being told February.
Excellent, excellent. I just want to jump right into the book. So I talked a couple of weeks ago with our friend. She sold her book on Twitter, and you did as well.
I
And
did.
so
The Twitter pitch that they liked is basically just an elevator pitch for the book. Failed priest Jason Bishop left the occult world behind to win back his love, but gets an offer he can't refuse, pulling him back in. Now he needs help from the friends he abandoned to find Voodoo King's daughter and stop all-out war.
the description you gave is pretty action-packed, but the thing that stood out to me when I read the book were some of the family dynamics. And
One of the things that I wanted to really look at was the way that a parent trying to express their love for a child and try to put their expectations on the kid, how it can be suffocating and how it can be really detrimental to the kid, because that's a lot of what happens with Bishop's dad. And honestly, that's kind of what kicks off the entire thing and ends up being the main driving thrust of the backstory. The other thing that I thought I really wanted to get forward in this was the idea of found family, because the most healthy relationships in the entire book aren't from people who are related through either blood or marriage or anything. It's really Bishop and that group of friends that he left behind to try to preserve this, basically the corpse of this relationship that he's been putting on a pedestal, where he basically took his ex and made her this manic pixie dream girl where she was going to solve all of his problems and fill up all of the blank spots in him. It's just codependent as hell, and it's not a healthy thing to do. You know, a little bit of therapy gives you some insight into this sort of thing. His relationship with his friends, as he rebuilds it and kind of rebuilds their trust after he really did betray them in a way, is kind of foundational for him, and it's kind of the thing that keeps him going, and he's one of the things that kind of makes them work as a group and brings them together.
inclusion and diversity are big issues for you. How did
Mhm.
you work those ideas into your book?
I was uncomfortable to start with, I'll be honest, because Bishop's Crossing is set in New Orleans and the main character's a white cisgender guy, and that's not what the average person in New Orleans looks like, especially being written by me, another middle-aged white cisgendered guy. One of the things that I've noticed more and more is how important inclusivity is to people in like genre fiction. I read a interview with one of the stars of Rogue One, that Star Wars movie, and he talked about how when his dad saw him on the screen and he's speaking with a thick Spanish accent, his dad burst into tears and just like this is the first time he's seen something like that, and it was just so important to him. As we go forward in modern fiction and modern fantasy, making sure that you bring in some of the underrepresented folks so that they actually have the place that they would in the real world is incredibly important, because when somebody can see themselves in the characters in your book, it means something to them.
As you wrote those characters, what did you do to try to be true to the voice and avoid kind of the cultural appropriation issues?
Well, I spoke with people from those communities first of all, and I bounced ideas off of them, and I bounced character concepts off of them to make sure that things worked and I wasn't presenting stereotypes or caricatures. Now, I had toyed with the idea of um, using a Native American character at one point, and I talked with a friend of mine who is Native American. She was like, "Well, first of all, almost none of us live in New Orleans, so that's a little bit of a problem to start with. Second of all, like, have you thought about these things?" And I went, Actually, I hadn't, and thank you, because I'm seeing that this is no. What I'm hearing is no. I don't get to decide what offends people. I don't get to decide what's safe and what's not safe. If someone who is from one of these more vulnerable communities, one of these underrepresented communities, is telling me that something I've written bothers them, then it's legitimate. It bothers them. And I'm not saying you have to make sure you don't ever offend anybody. I'm saying that it's important to make sure when you offend people, you're punching up. When you're punching down, you're just bullying people, and there's no point in that.
What always comes up when you write something paranormal or urban fantasy is, gosh, where do you get your ideas from? You reimagine Katrina as not a natural disaster, but a magical one.
Mhm.
Uh, what brought that to mind? Was it the setting? Was it more?
One of the things I did for Bishop's Crossing was I did a deep dive into a lot of Judeo-Christian myth and a lot of Judeo-Christian um, just a lot of the stories around like the Old Testament, about the Gnostic Gospels, about just all of kind of the peripheral stuff around the sacred texts. Anytime there's a natural disaster in biblical times, God did it, and he did it in some way, or, you know, something happened. He sent an angel, and this happened, and this happened, and, you know, they smote things, and fire rained from the sky. Nowadays, we have science, and we're like, well, we understand what happened. There was, you know, plate tectonics, or, you know, there was the volcano erupted, or whatever. But I just kind of puzzled, like, well, what if it wasn't? What if it really was the wrath of God that was kind of summoned by some sort of magical thing? And I like that idea as a backdrop, especially when you added in kind of it being done for the whole twisted love thing, and like, I'm going to let you live up to your potential, and how toxic that kind of approach to parenting can be, and all that stuff.
I read your book and I thought it was fantastic, and it's fantastic for all the things we've been talking about. It's action-packed, urban adventure, complex family dynamics happening, very diverse cast, great setting. While we're waiting for it to come out, where can people go to find out more about you and more about your writing?
I have a Facebook page, and if you look on Facebook for Stories by Don, I'm on there. I have a Wix page for a website, which is also Stories by Don, and it is available for pre-order now at Fireside Publishing. Fireside spelled FYRSYDE publishing.com. If you order now, it is available for a 15% discount off of the cover price. So, you know, savings. Hey.
All right. Well, Don, thanks for giving me a little bit of time this evening. I appreciate it, and looking forward to getting my own personal copy.
Oh, my pleasure. I can't wait to sign it for you.
If you enjoyed this conversation and would like to hear more artist interviews, or perhaps read reviews of some of the latest fantasy and paranormal books, or download a short story from my podcast, 10 Minutes in the Dark, then visit me at donlhess.com.